Everybody, what is going on? What is going on, Locked In Nation? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 96. We're your home for personal development tips, sports news, music, and much, much more. Tonight's topic, guys, we are going to be talking about a highly requested topic. Lots of people have talked about it and requested it. We're going to be giving an intro into real estate investing on a general level. We're going to talk about, real estate flips, wholesaling. We'll talk about rental properties, a bunch of different stuff. Really excited for this one. I think it's going to be really informative for you guys. And that is because we got two of the goats, some real estate goats in the building here. You know what? I want to first of all welcome back guest Bill Plymouth. Bill works in real estate wholesaling, and he is essentially a licensed realtor in the Philadelphia area. Bill, what is going on? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I also want to introduce our first-time guest to the podcast. Excited to have him on. It's been a long time coming. Rob LaVenture. Rob is a licensed real estate agent as well in the Philadelphia area. Rob focuses on rental properties, long-term tenants. He's done some flips as well. So welcome, Rob. Appreciate you coming on, bro.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's good being here.
Yeah, man. Long time coming, bro. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you both taking the time out of your day to join the pod today. And then, as always, we're your host for the evening. I'm Steve Ushler. Joining alongside me on the other end, it's my co-host and good friend, George Menchai. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys?
What's
going on? We're in the mix.
Yes,
we got
sir.
The guys here, two of the greatest, guys in the Philly area.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. A lot of people.
It's gonna be a popping episode.
Yeah, a lot of people in the room now. I'm sure after we play the intro, I'm sure there's going to be even more people in here. I know a lot of people told me they're going to be tuning into this one tonight. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be really informative. But guys, before we get into the topic, I'm just going to play the intro. And after we play that, I'll see you guys on the other side. All right?
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Let's do it, fellas.
Let's get it. All right, guys, as stated, I've seen some people have popped in since the intro. So, welcome back to Locked In Podcast, episode 96. Tonight, guys, what we're talking about with special guests, Rob LaVenture and Bill Plymouth. We're going to be talking about an intro into real estate investing. We'll talk about real estate flips, rental properties, long-term tenants, wholesaling. We'll get into some of the differences, I guess, between FHA loans and conventional loans. It's going to be an exciting episode.
Good episode for sure.
Yeah, for sure. George, I don't really have much to add before we get into it. I guess I'll say, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, turn notifications on, hit that notification bell if you're not already following our notifications, because we drop a new episode every single week. You don't want to miss it.
We do this weekly.
Yeah, if you're watching on Facebook, smash the like button as well. It helps grow the channel. And then, if you have any feedback, we always appreciate the comments. So comment in the YouTube live stream chat. You can comment in the Facebook chat. Guys, if you have any experience of your own or you have any questions for the guys on here tonight, drop them below. We always appreciate the feedback. Number 3, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the pod. 2022, be true and be you.
Yep.
All right. I guess when it comes to this, real estate investing is something that's talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of people today, they're trying to, especially with the digital age, everybody's trying to, likes to throw the word entrepreneur out there. They like to, they like to throw the word around. And then real estate investing is one of the biggest ways, I think, to become an entrepreneur and investing in real estate properties. I guess the first thing I would ask either of you guys, I guess I'll start with Bill and work my way over to Rob. What was one thing that drew you into, I guess, real estate investing? And then when did you officially start?
Cool. So I kind of stumbled upon real estate investing back in 2016. It's kind of just when, how old was I in 2016? 5-ish years ago. Is it 5 years ago now? So I was 20.
5 or 6, yeah.
24. Yeah.
6 years ago.
Yeah. So I was 20. So I was 23. So I was 23. I was kind of just really trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to build my legacy. That was kind of like, like what I started. And then I was looking at, I was just looking at different things. I was looking at the stock market. I was looking at, any kind of business I could start. And then I finally stumbled upon real estate investing. I, just came across it and I was reading about it and I just was instantly hooked. It was super, super interesting to read about. But one of the biggest things about real estate investing that I would say has an advantage over other kinds of investing is that you can use other people's money to do it. So, a bank's, for example, a bank's money, you can put 20% down or 3.5% down, depending on what kind of loan you use on a property, and do like a live and flip or a house hack where you live in like one floor, you have like a duplex and rent out the other one. And you can use, other people's money to do so. And even as you get to higher levels, now keep in mind, that's not, you can use a bank's money in the beginning. As you get to higher levels, you can use hard money or private money to, fund full on, purchasing of portfolios and then refinance. So it's all using other, you can do it. The ideal situation is to do it without using your own cash. And that's, that's what like kind of really interested me, to essentially the creativity of it. That's really what drew me in. And I essentially, I really started my investment journey back in 2018. I'm sorry, end of 2019, because COVID knocked me out a little bit.
Okay, so you had the idea in 2016, you kind of implemented it into actual practice in like 2019 area.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Man, that's a good explanation, man. It makes a lot of sense too, right? Real estate, I think, is like one of the most fundamentally sound things you can invest in, and it's a great point that you said you can use other people's money like banks, but as you get to those higher levels, you can use hard money. You can just use other people's money. That's actually a great point. A simplicity sense. Rob, if I kick that question over to you, man. So when did you officially get started? What you were doing in real estate investing, and what kind of drew you in as well?
Yeah, so really the way I really officially started is my dad, he was always in real estate. My dad been an agent for maybe about like 15 years, if I can estimate correctly. So he's always been an agent for a long time doing real estate. But he always had his own personal property. He never had an investment property. So after college, my dad encouraged me to get my real estate license because it's just another source of income. Like in order to really build wealth, you got to have multiple sources of income. So I got my real estate license, just like him. He had a real estate license. So I got my real estate license just to get in the game and get a feel of the game and understand real estate really from a holistic standpoint. So as I started to work with my real estate license, I realized I'm helping people buy properties. I'm helping people acquire investments, but are we getting one ourselves? Like my dad didn't have one himself. I didn't have one. So we thought to ourselves, hey, let's pull together and us buy our own. Like we're helping other people get it. Why don't we just get our own? So that's what we did I think in 2019, we pulled our money together and then bought our first investment property in 2019. So it was a rundown property from the government. It was government owned. So it was a HUD property, and we bought it fairly low price. It was a steal. It got off the market a couple of times. We thought we were going to get it, then it came back, and then we eventually got the property and purchased it. So yeah, that's what really got me started. After helping other people acquire properties, we're like, hey, why don't we use our skills and expertise to get our own and start our own journey? So that's what I did. Now I work with a team of my father, my brother, other contractors I work with, other lenders that I got connections from being an agent. So that's the good part about being an agent. You have all the inside knowledge to acquire properties yourself, and you utilize your network to build your own wealth. So that's what really got me started, really.
Awesome, man. I absolutely
Good
love
story.
that. I love that, man.
Yeah.
You were able to kind of start with your dad, kind of was a real estate agent, and you guys were able to kind of pull together. I freaking love that, man. And I think that's awesome that you're able to have I think that more family members, it's awesome. He's encouraging you to build wealth in a certain way. I feel like a lot of people from like an early age should be encouraged more, but not just encouraged, but honestly like educated on like how to build wealth, and that's important, right? Like it's just when you're selling real estate, you're a real estate licensed real estate salesperson.
You're a
You're
salesman.
helping other people buy property, but you don't really have anything of your
Yeah,
own.
your own. Yeah.
Exactly. That's awesome, man. I really love to hear stories like that. That's great, man. And yeah, man. So you have like a whole team. You said it's your dad, your brother. You got like contractors. Is that like your like associates group? Like I know you had what's your like, virtual business like LaVenture Associates? Like
Yeah, so we have an LLC called LaVenture Real Estate Group and Associate. So
Gotcha.
obviously the group is us, and then associates is people we partner with to do these
Gotcha.
deals. So like I'm like the guy who runs all the numbers, who kind of sets the strategic direction of what properties to get. And my dad, since he's been in the business so long, he finds these deals like crazy, and I'm the one that kind of analyze them and make sure we hitting our financial key points. So yeah, that's kind of like the leverage we're using to get these deals done.
Awesome,
That's
man.
nice, man.
I love to hear that, man. So you're both just using he's got his little network there, and then you got your skill set and like kind of like analyzing everything, and you guys kind of put both them skill sets together.
Right,
And,
right.
That's awesome, man.
So Rob, basically, like your father started earlier, he said in life, in his career, he's doing it, and then now he's kind of like he owns more of the stuff. You know what I mean? He's not just like a salesman. He's an agent. He owns a company, and you kind of starting almost like in your father's footsteps, almost, but you do your own thing, and now you work with your dad, and you probably even a bigger agent. That's kind of cool, man. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's a hell of a story. It's very cool. You know how it all happened. Almost like something you read like in a movie about. Like this guy, he's young, professional, but he got it from his dad or something like that. No,
Right.
nice, man, for sure.
Yeah, so he didn't own any investment, just his personal house.
Just his personal
for
house,
years. And then when I got out and I was making money, I was like, all right, let's pull together and invest. So that's kind of what we did.
Smart thinking, man.
Yeah, man.
Dog, respect.
And I know you were saying on the analysis part of it. I know me and you talked a while back. You were saying like you make your money walking into the deal, not walking out.
Right.
So when you do the projection on the numbers, that's where you make your money. It's not walking out of the deal. It's walking into it.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, in college I studied engineering, so I'm really good with math. So that's where my strength is, just analyzing the numbers, making sure that things work.
Awesome, man. I love to hear that, man. That's great, man. Bill, you don't have officially like any properties here as of now yet, right?
Not officially, but actually, I just got one under contract for a wholesale down in the Frankfurt area.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of negotiating. This is my biggest. I mean, it's probably my biggest one for a while. The fact I even got it's kind of something ridiculous. But I'm in the middle of negotiating. I can't give too many details about it yet, but at the end of the day, it's a $1.8 million deal. That unfortunately I have buyers for who buy things like that, but it's a big it's a big fish, and I'm fortunate to have a solid team that I stumbled upon this portfolio, and they're really helping me through it because I'm good. My strength, I can analyze okay, but my big strength is marketing and getting people to trust me. So I can find these big properties, I can have these conversations, they trust me, and then I can bring my team in, and my team, I can hook the whale, and my team helps me pull it in. So that's the
man.
That's the analogy.
Good luck. Good luck, bro. Sheesh, that's a big deal. It's a big deal, man.
It's going to be tough, and it's probably going to be because I was talking to my two mentors. They said it's because I have two mentors who act as my partners, and then I have another partner. They're like, look, dude, they're like, keep looking for other things because this is like a 4 or 5 month deal. They're like, it's going to take us a little bit to really make this work. So I'm like, all right. So I have that on the back burner. I get updates every now and then. So now I'm just waiting to see where it goes.
Awesome, man. Yo, good luck to you, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I know. I hope you. What were you gonna say, George? I was gonna say, Rob. Out of curiosity, like it's up to you if you want to disclose it. When you got your first, when you and your dad got your first rental property, did you? How did you go about? Did you do like FHA loan, conventional loan? Just out of curiosity, it's up to you if you want to disclose.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll disclose. So, we used the FHA loan to get the property. But we did have to put about 15% down. due to the fact that it was a HUD property. So
Gotcha.
we did do FHA, but then we had to revert it and do a conventional because it was a HUD property and we couldn't do it. So we did conventional, but then we eventually refinanced at the end, but we started off with conventional.
Okay, that's interesting. I was like, I know a little bit myself. Like when it goes to like an FHA loan, I know a lot of people. I actually have a friend who has a rental property too, and it's more of like it's like a vacation home. But like with an FHA loan, I know a lot of people have the question like, do you have to live in the property like for like the first year or so? Is that like the typical like route? Like I know a lot of people if they do a duplex, they'll live in it for like a year and like one half, and then they'll rent out the other. But with an FHA loan, it's usually what 3.5% down.
Yeah, well, FHA you got to put 3.5% down of the sale price, plus obviously your closing costs that's involved. But yeah, you do have to live in the property for a year, technically. So you didn't hear that from me.
yeah, that's technically. I ain't trying to. We won't reveal too much about here. Really kind of last year. Technically, there's always workarounds on like certain things, but that's like the technical process. You live in it for a year, and yeah, I was gonna say because I was curious because my friend is the same way. He's like technically,
You didn't hear it from me.
Yeah, we didn't hear it here. Yeah, it's just there's workarounds. That's interesting. And then a conventional loan, I think, what's the lowest you can get on? I think on a conventional loan, like the lowest, depending on what your credit score is, or depends on how much. I think it's based off, right? Is it like how much you have saved as well for like a lump sum? Is it like you can get 3% down as like the lowest on a conventional?
So with conventional, the lowest you can do is 5%.
5%, okay.
But on an investment properties, the bank I work with, all of them say 15%. 15 to 25. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So when there's an investment, it's usually different. But I recommend for all first-time people who's trying to get a duplex, do FHA. It's a lot easier on your pockets, and and it's your first home, so you get the benefit of utilizing that loan.
Right. And I guess it depends, like you said, it depends on how it's funded. If it's a HUD property, it's going to be tougher to get that FHA. I'm assuming, like depending on like how it's funded, it's government funded or HUD, yeah.
Right. Because FHA, it has to be a livable house, and the house that we bought was not livable. So
not livable.
You have to like cut it out from the beginning. Fix it all up.
Yeah, not livable.
Yeah.
So that's why we couldn't do FHA.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where unless you know how to do the work yourself, that's where you're bringing in a GC, a general contractor.
Exactly.
The property.
Right.
My cousin's doing it, but he was doing it himself. He was like kind of like fixing the house and flipping them as well. But like he knew how to do the work himself. So he has some property in the Temple area, North Philly, and like Northern Liberties.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, do you and your dad have a long-term tenant in that property now? Like your first property that you guys invested in?
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. We renovated it. The renovation took a long time. We had some unspoken surprises with it, but we got it done. And yeah, the tenant rents it out. We have a tenant in there, and we're working on fixing up the basement part too, to make that into a unit as well. So the deal is turning out to be a great deal in the long run.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. But I'll ask you this in a second as well on the wholesaling side of it. But Rob, like like you said, there were some surprises that kind of came with that first property. What's like a lesson you kind of learned, I guess, like with that first property, man, when you acquired it? Because I feel like a lot of people, it's not always so cut and dry. You want to make money, but obviously, you could always overlook something, and then there could be something behind the scenes you didn't see initially when you went to get it. So what was like a lesson you learned, man? Or like, was there like a structural issue, or what kind of went on with the first property?
Yeah, so the lesson I learned is like as you said earlier, in real estate you make money going into the deal. So the problem we didn't do is we didn't analyze the property correctly, fully. We didn't have an inspector go in there and check to see what's wrong. Like I ran numbers and estimate the amount of repairs, but I didn't get a professional to go in there and really break it down item by item. So the surprise we had was after we acquired the property and we started to get people in there, we found out that it was a foundation issue on the property. Yeah, so the property was kind of like slanting a bit. So we had to get a whole new foundation repair, and that was an extra $20,000 that I didn't account for. So yeah, that one really, and it ended up pushing our timeline back because we had to get permits. I had to get different contractor bids for it. And then the city took forever. Honestly, if you can avoid going through the city for permits, avoid it. They don't care. They
Yeah.
take their sweet time.
It took
And it's
forever, right?
costing, yeah, and
I heard about that.
it costs investors money because we're just waiting for the city and they're
You're
just
waiting for the investors.
taking their sweet time. Yeah. So that pushed our timeline so long. Like that was so frustrating. So one lesson I learned is analyze the property thoroughly before jumping in the deal. Remember, you make money before you go in, so you got to analyze it thoroughly.
That's an excellent point, man. You can never be too thorough. You can never be too thorough when it comes to something like that. Real estate is obviously it's the biggest investment you're probably ever going to make is real estate. I mean, let's be realistic. It's going to be the biggest investment you're ever going to make in your life. So you can never be too thorough. But it's funny you mentioned the city of Philadelphia. City of Philadelphia. This isn't a bash the city of Philadelphia podcast, but it's flow with everything.
They don't care.
No, they don't. I work with them personally in my own job, and it's like how funders I work with and stuff. It's like they're terrible with payments, everything. Crazy, man.
Yeah.
Bill, if I kick that over to you, man, I know I know me and you have had multiple conversations, man, through like our workouts or whatever we're doing about this, man. What are some lessons or like a big lesson I would say you learned so far in your journey with real estate wholesaling?
I mean, wholesaling, it's the same. It's essentially the same thing. You make your money. I mean, honestly, all real estate investment, like Rob said, you make your money when you walk into that deal. Right. If you can buy a great, if you find a great deal, but you buy it the wrong way, you're fucked 6 ways from Sunday. It's rough. Sorry, I could have worded that nicer, but that's the truth. If you buy a great deal the wrong way, you're in a rough situation. So as a wholesaler, you need to make sure, because essentially what I do is I get a property under contract. Let's just say, for round numbers, property in its current condition is worth $100,000, but for one reason or another, sometimes the sellers are old or they can't make it listing ready. I'll turn around and I'll get it under contract for 65. Turn around and sell to one of my buyers my position in the contract for 85, and I'll pocket the difference, the 20 grand difference. The seller gets their money, the buyer gets their property. So it's always, you make your money going into that deal. So you need to make sure there's enough meat on the bone, because you don't want to go around building your wealth off of ripping people off. That's not how I like to operate. And there are, wholesalers get a bad rap because there's a lot of wholesalers that do that. They will go and, they'll kind of go rip people off, and that's not really a good way to build your wealth, your legacy. Eventually, that's going to come back and get you one way or another. So just like Rob said, your money is made walking into that deal, but also from a wholesaling standpoint, don't be afraid to talk to anybody. If I see something I like, like that deal, that's essentially, it costs $1.8 million to buy. I saw that deal and I said, I really like that. I'm going to call this guy. I have no rental properties of my own. This dude's got a massive portfolio. I talked to him like I ran into him at a party. Like, it's just, I just converse with him. I don't care if it's the Pope who answers the phone on the other side of that, who answers the phone on the other side. I will converse with anybody. You have to sometimes change the way you speak a little bit, or you need to, make sure you can talk and hang with them, jargon wise. But, talking to people, this is a relationship business. So the better you can, walk into people and not be afraid of just having a genuine conversation, the more deals you're going to find.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's a really great point, man. Thank you for elaborating, man. It's important. I wanted to also say there was a question down below, guys. Either of you could answer that. I know, Bill, that you were telling me about the conversation with that guy the other night too. So that was a short. So this is Candace. She had been on the podcast before. So she was asking, when it comes to, I guess, like an inspection, are there certain things that I guess you would look for? She said one of them. She had another thing. She said she was told to check for mold. I think that's probably a big one. But there are like certain things when it comes to like a home inspection, I guess, that
mold is
typically look for that are like, I guess,
the
like
foundation is a big one. Yeah.
Like either of you guys can answer that.
I mean, I'll start it off. And I'll push it right back over to Rob, because Rob, you probably have more experience with home inspections than I do. Because my guys buy them, they don't get inspections.
Yeah, okay.
But the few inspections that I've dealt with, dude, regardless of the house, like, I bought I helped a friend buy a house. Dude got a sheet back that was yellow and red for the most part. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my first home inspection. I'm like, oh my God. And I bring this to one of the agents who was helping me out, and he's going through, and he's like, yo, relax. He's like, this stuff is yellow and red. He's like, but it's the majority of it. Like, one of the things that we were looking at, it was red. It was like one of the seals in the window was broken. One thing was, there was chip and paint in a corner, of one of the walls, and it was all really easy stuff to fix. So getting that home inspection back where it was all yellow and red, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is going to cost forever to fix. A lot of those things, those inspectors find, especially because it was for us, it was an FHA loan. The stuff that they find, they're not as big as it would seem. All that yellow and red that you see, a lot of those items are relatively minor items that can be easily fixed, by the seller, or with maybe the seller will give credits to fix depending on whatever loan you have. So don't be scared of those home inspections when you get yellow and red back. Though some of the items can be big, like Rob's foundation, but a lot of inspectors don't check for the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll push the rest over to Rob on that one.
Yeah, so I think it depends on like what you're buying. It really matters deal to deal. Obviously there's some standard things you should check for, but like, let's say you're buying a property, kind of a turnkey property. So a turnkey is what it basically means is the property is already rented. Everything is good inside, it's leased out. All you're gonna do is buy the property and collect the income. You don't have to do any work into it. So when you're buying that, the things to check for is make sure all the leases are up to date and correct. So when you're talking to the seller, they might say, hey, my tenant rents it out for $1,000, downstairs rents it out for $800. Make sure you get the lease and check it out, check on paper, because if it's not documented, it really doesn't mean nothing what the seller says. But like if you're buying a property that's a little bit run down, definitely get a home inspection. And obviously the home inspection, they're the experts. They check everything from the roof, the electric, the sheetrock, the paint, all the appliances, the plumbing. So like a home inspector, I always recommend to all my clients, and before buying anything, always get a home inspection. And then after you get that home inspection, take that to your contractor to see, hey, how much exactly would this all cost? And then you put that into your projections. So it all depends on the type of deal you're looking at. It varies deal to deal. Obviously, there's the standard things to look for. As is the essential parts of the house, you got to check it. So yeah, that's really what my input on that.
Excellent points for both of you guys. Thank you both for sharing. No, it's definitely like you said, Rob. That's actually a really good point of view. It depends on the type of property you're investing in. That's definitely important. Somebody actually commented in. They also said you need to keep in mind how high your home's elevation wise. Factor in if you need flood insurance. So that could be a big one as well. I'm assuming like with flood insurance, you never know. It depends
not
on
in
where
Pennsylvania. At least not in Philadelphia.
not in Philadelphia, right. Not in this area. You have to worry about it.
Yeah,
if you have like a shore property or something like that, if say you go I'll say relative to Philadelphia, if you're in Jersey, I know certain areas are prone to flooding. Wildwood is one of them, right? There's that's just the way the area is. Like, Philadelphia, I don't think you have to, worry as much.
It's not as much, but like maybe Jersey more, maybe even Florida, like hurricanes and all that, there's more floods up there, possibly, or Louisiana or something like that. But I did have a question for you guys, or for one of you guys. So now when you got to fix a property, how do you guys go about finding like the inspector, the home inspector, to kind of help you with the whole insurance? You have to be like, okay, well, there's no guarantee that this roof, is leaking. There's a big hole in there. How do you guys go about finding like again, inspectors and people, like contractors to, fix the small various issues? You just like know somebody, or you just have to like look, or somebody helps you?
Yeah,
you go first. Yeah, Rob goes first if you want.
So I'm kind of privileged. So I have, like I said, my dad has a network, so I utilize his network. I also use my own network that I have. But you can also do a Google search.
Yeah, I was gonna
That
say Google might be
helps.
the
Yeah, you
optional.
can do a Google search. But obviously, my personal recommendation is talk to a friend in your own network that has worked with a inspector or contractor. Word of mouth is the best
Yeah,
recommendation, and
please
then
don't.
the contractor or the inspector has to live up to your friend, giving them a good review.
Mm.
So they're gonna try to make sure they do good for you because they know that your friend or whoever in your network recommended them. So they gotta prove to you like, hey, I'm a good worker. So definitely word of mouth is the best one. So if you know anybody that just bought a house, any family members, friends that just bought a house, talk to them like, hey, what inspector did you use? Like whenever I'm meeting new people and they told me they just got some work done in their house, I always ask them who's their contractor. Especially if I see the work is good, I ask them who's your contractor. Can I have his name, information, so I can have that in my list of contractors I can talk to because there's nothing more valuable than a great contractor. Just sometimes they're
I
rough to
agree.
come by.
Yeah. Right. And thank you for that, Rob. And Bill, do you want to chime in on that one as well?
Yeah, I mean, on the investment side for me, I have a few contractors that I that I keep in mind. Unfortunately, I have a partners with a large network as well, so I'm privileged in that sense. But something I've done to find some contractors that do work is when I go through certain neighborhoods and I'm looking for deals. If I see work happening outside, I go outside. I go and I talk to those contractors. I talk
Yeah.
to those guys. Um,
Get their card.
yeah, get their card because they're being used for one reason or another. And I call them and I ask for references. Now they can give me BS references every day of the week, but a lot of these guys they want that they want repeat business. So if I see them out there doing work on something and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look like it's falling apart. I'll give them a call. I'll check their references. I'll try to figure out what other houses they worked on, investment wise, and
Right.
I'll go from there. It's a good way to really just extend your network. Like I said, I talk to everybody. I totally missed the don't talk to strangers talk as a child.
Hmm.
I walk down the street. I have conversations with everyone who walks by.
Hmm.
Um, so I really like having finding people like that, especially when they pull through. It's been helpful, and yeah, it's how I find a lot of my contractors.
And honestly, I was gonna say something, add up to that a little bit. Since me and you kind of live in the same neighborhood, as you know, like
Mm.
it's not hard to find those kind of guys around here. There's always some kind of work going on, dude. I mean, my
Yeah,
father does that. I would have worked some stuff that done some construction work like one of these days this week, but kind of going through a little injury on my wrist a little bit. But there's always work around here, bro. I mean, there's roofman. There's always there's foundation. They just built some houses on Pine, like Red Line and like Pine kind of. Well, it's not Pine. I think it's like High Road, but it's about Pine. Right when you step out of Philly, these new properties they just got recently built. I think they're completed by like late March or April that just passed. So now people are going to move in there and all that. The the property people, the managers, the real estate agents have been there. I see people actually look at the spots, so there's so much land out here, bro. And you know the neighborhood, so it's like you can always find people there doing construction work or some kind of contractor, subcontractor.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Facts.
and just
Yeah,
to add,
go ahead.
like as Bill was saying, yeah, talk to everybody, talk to people. If you see good work that's been done, like remodeled, go up to the person and be like, hey, who did this work? Who's your contractor?
Yeah,
Usually they're glad to give it to you. Like, oh yeah, he did amazing work, and they hand you their card, and then get the person's name, and then contact the contractor and tell them, hey, Amy told me you did work for her. I would like to inquire about your services. And usually that breeds familiarity with them, and they're like, all right, so Amy referred me to this guy. I gotta do good work for him. So
basically.
Yeah. No, you guys both answered that
Man.
like perfectly. I think that's the best way personally myself. That was Drew's question, but I think that's personally the best way yourself. Word of mouth from people is going to be priceless. It's going to be priceless when it comes to recommending somebody else's work because they firsthand. I think it's going to be more powerful than a Google search. You never know what Google search is because a company could continuously. I mean, obviously, if you know that the GC is already reputable, if the people cool. People could also put fake reviews. You never know. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
with a Google search, it's best to go like word of mouth of people and then talk to people. I think that's one of the most powerful things in business, in real estate, and anything. Don't be afraid to talk to people. So great points for both you guys. I also wanted to ask. So I wanted to Bill. I'll ask you. like with wholesale, and I know it's like what is like the general process with wholesaling? Because I don't think I asked you like how like what exactly is like real estate wholesaling? Like what's the process of it?
Sure. So, very simple breakdown. Just to kind of make it as easy as possible. I find a deal, I negotiate, I get them to sign. They sign, I send that to my title company. So something that pops up, especially with some of the things that deal with in wholesaling when you're dealing with the distressed properties or a distressed owner, um, title can be an issue. You might have to renegotiate a whole thing because you find out there's $30,000 worth of liens on a property because they haven't paid their taxes in 10 years. And the city just hasn't caught up to them yet. Or you have to you go and you find out that technically they don't own the property because it was their mom's property. They live there. Their mom died, and their mom never either put them in the will to inherit the property, and they never went through the process to get the deed moved in their name. So title is extremely important to run, and it takes about right now it's taking about 2.5 weeks to a month to really come back and to come back. So you really want to search for a clear title. And there are some things that if they owe $5,000 in taxes, it's not the biggest deal in the world. If $5,000 is killing your deal, then you shouldn't be buying the deal. So $5,000 and so $5,000 taxes like that isn't the worst thing in the world. So you go through the title process, then you close. So in the real estate wholesaling side, I need to make sure I have a buyer lined up for this property. What a lot of wholesalers do, and it infuriates me, is they'll put something under contract and they have no buyers. And that doesn't hurt you because at the end of the day, you have very little of no skin in the game. That hurts the seller. We're here to provide a service. We're servicing people who, for one reason or another, they can't list with an agent because, trying to get their home, walk-in ready would be a pain. Would be too much of a pain. Or, they don't want 1,000 people walking in and out. A lot of my guys will buy sight unseen. Or they're just old and they want something quick. They don't want to deal with a negotiation process. They're just like, here, I want this cash quick. A lot of these wholesalers will go in, they'll lock something up and not have any buyers lined up. Like I only lock things up in areas that I know I have buyers who buy in. I'm very diligent with what I look for. I'm not going to look for something that I don't have a buyer for. Like someone approached me with vacant land and, because they needed a quick sale. They were asking for $10,000. I probably could have moved it, but I don't know a guy who buys. Actually, well, you know what? Funnily enough, this was like 2.5 weeks ago. Yesterday, I met a guy who all he does is buy vacant land. So I have to try and filter through and find their number again. But they're like, hey, I know you do this. Can you buy this from me? And I'm like, you know what? With my good conscience, I couldn't because that sets them back. So you need to make sure you have a buyer in place. Honestly, my biggest thing is build your buyers list before you start putting anything under contract because you're not hurting yourself, you're hurting other people. And Benjamin Franklin says your reputation's like fine china. Once it's cracked, it's not easily mended. So if you have that reputation of putting things under contract and leaving people out in the dust, it's gonna be really hard for you to continue working. So build your buyers list.
Again, the trust, yeah.
And then you go to the closing table. So you find that buyer, then boom, you go to the closing table. Once they go to the closing table, you get your money, they get their money, the buyer gets their property, and everyone walks away smiling.
Thanks for breaking it down, man. That's a nice detailed.
Yeah. Sorry for the rant there. It's just every now and then it gets,
man, it just shows you're passionate about what you do. You know what I mean, dude?
Yeah.
That's all. I appreciate that, man. Rob, I was going to ask you. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to add something to the wholesaler thing. I was going to say, obviously, I'm not a wholesaler, but I would say wholesalers, they are awesome and very valuable to, like, if you want to be an investor and investors in general, because they get properties that are not on the market to investors. I don't currently work with any wholesalers, but I'm always looking to connect with more wholesalers because they bring deals to investors that are not on the market. Because when the properties are listed on the market, you have competition from everybody looking at it on the MLS, that drives the price up, and then it's at market. It's usually at market price. But the wholesalers kind of get these homes that are distressed and bring it to investors kind of at a discounted price than what it would be if you put it on the market. So while everybody's happy, they make their money on the spread, and us investors get a deal on a house that would have been a lot more if they listed it on the market. So wholesalers are very valuable.
Thanks for that, Rob. Appreciate that.
Great point. Well, now maybe now that you guys officially met on here, maybe you guys can link and connect then. So you're always like
do some business together.
Oh, definitely.
Perfect, man. Bringing people together.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah. So I just build the process of wholesale. I would say, like, since you had a flip or two under your belt with flipping houses, I know people like to say that word too. They'll be like, "Oh, I know somebody who flips houses." So what's the overall process with like flipping houses, like bringing in a general contractor, running the numbers and everything like that? What's like the general process that goes into that?
All right. So I would say the gist of the process of flipping a house and even investing in rent and hold is the numbers. Real estate investing is a numbers game. Like everything comes down to the numbers. So when it comes to flipping, the general process to it is basically finding a home that's and getting it at a price that's under market value. So you want to basically get a property, get it at a nice discount, and then you want to put in work into it and then sell it at a maximum price. That's kind of like the whole process. So for my first flip, we actually got the property off market. So we were able to get the property for a discounted price than what it exactly would be if he listed it on the market. So since we got it at such a discounted price, we know if we put some work into it and put it on the market, we can make a nice profit on it. So the key with flipping is to keep your costs low, and then you want to sell at a maximum profit. So like I said, everything comes down to the numbers. So before you even go into the deal, you got to know, what is my maximum selling price I can sell this house for? How do you find that out? You do comparisons in the area. So my flip was in Alany. I was comparing the homes the property that we bought. I was comparing all the homes that are nice and in the end state of where we're going to get it to, and what are they selling at. So I realized they were selling at up in 225, 230. So I was like, so we got the home at a way discounted price. So we know if we put in this amount of work, this is the amount of profit we can get at the maximum selling price. So that's the key with flipping, is basically knowing your maximum sell price based on the comparisons. Obviously, you got to know how much you're going to put into the house. And like I said, making the money before you go into the deal. So everything comes down to numbers when it comes to flipping. Obviously, you got to manage contractors, but the number one thing is the numbers.
Excellent point, man. Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
That's a good point. Yeah,
it's the numbers going in, and then I guess you gotta analyze whatever your expenses will be for a GC, depending on how much work needs to be done or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that maximum sales price, that's a great point. And I
very
think a lot
informative.
of yeah,
Very informative.
Comparative analysis.
Some good gems to drop, you fellas. Let's keep it going. It's definitely exactly. I told you guys. See, did I say that? Yeah, man. So,
so George, I'll let you kick another question over.
Quick question for Rob, just about the flip. So, I'm assuming you know some other guys that flip too. How many properties have you flipped so far, as far as houses, and where are some of the places? You said Alany is one of them, right? But where are some of the markets? Like, what's the market like in the Philly area? Because I've been interested in that as well.
So I just focused more on the Alany area in terms of my flips. So because the properties there are, what I look for is kind of the trend in the neighborhood. So real estate, everything comes to location. So in that specific Alany neighborhood, the trend of the market was going up. And so because we got the property at a discounted price, I know if I put in some work into it, I can cash out on that trend and sell at a good maximum price.
At a good maximum price, yeah.
Right. So that's where I was focusing on, more in the Alany area. In terms of expanding the Alany area, like in the Northeast and all that, I've been holding. We're focusing on multifamily. So my strategy is, when it comes to a single family, I flip it. When it comes to a multifamily, I hold it.
And by holding, you mean like you put as tenants?
Yeah, holding. Yeah, renting it out.
Renting it out.
Right.
Right. Okay. Makes sense, but definitely, because I know people living out there. I got a little spot there too, so that's what I'm saying. Like Alani's, like the market's kind of good there, but also like if we, not to switch conversation, but gentrifying is becoming big. So Northern Liberties, North Philly, and Fishtown for sure got
Right.
gentrified a lot. Even parts of Port Richmond, there's a lot of
Fishtown.
houses there. I worked with a
Yeah.
buddy of mine who's a good subcontractor who did a house there, and he had all the tools, did the whole ceiling. He's got this tool where instead you hold it like old school, you just put this thing and it's like this is like, and he pushes it in. It's almost like a door breaker, but he pushes the ceiling in, and you hook up the ceiling or whatever. You could do like the roof and everything else. And yeah, my friend, he was telling me, properties here going up. He said a lot of work, and he gets calls like daily. You get a call. He says, "Thank you for calling my company." He's number 5 on Google. If you put his company name, it's like he comes up pretty up, and he's a friend. He's actually been in the podcast. Steve Rowe, DJ Rowe.
Oh yeah.
Even though I don't think you were there for that particular episode, but he is, yeah. So he does a lot of work, Salute my man Rowe, but he did a lot of good stuff like that. And when we worked in a house before, I remember seeing that, like you said, and like Bill was saying, a lot of people are fixing houses. And I remember asking, and some of them were hired from like real estate, agents and contractors and all that. They're just like subcontractors, like my father, he's a subcontractor too. He does work, and he knows a lot of guys like that. So when it comes to that, guys, I'm definitely the plug for the construction things, and for the plumbers, electricians. I know a shitload of electricians. I just made a couple more at one of my gigs. I work at a club too, so I network a lot. So now it's a lot of real estate guys, including some of my coworkers, but that's all have the story. And maybe one day I'll bring one of them guys. I know a lady, her and her husband do a lot of stuff like this, like real estate houses and invest.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah, I wish I could do contract work myself, man. It'll save me a lot of money. The best I can do is sand. That's the best I can do.
I just learned how to paint last year, so I mean, you're a little bit ahead of me.
Well. I learned how to paint too. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm sure. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like just stopping by and like watching them do work and stuff. You could probably like learn like a thing or two, man, just by visual, just by like seeing them. Yeah, just by literally stopping on in, what they're doing. It's interesting.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I actually hanged up the closet for my downstairs unit. I put the closet up, did the measurements, so I learned from the contractor. Okay, cool.
Hey man, learn a little bit at a time, man. And it's just like whatever can save you some time, man, save you some money, dude. It's always worth it, man. It's the little things.
Right. That's sweat equity.
Exactly. And George, you were saying Fishtown, man. Fishtown in Philadelphia is a huge up and coming area. It's been for the last few years now.
Very big market.
Highly expensive market in there.
Very expensive now.
Some of those houses by
Fishtown's up and came. That's
I think it's too high now, man.
It's too high. It's too expensive now. We gotta wait. We missed our chance basically. But there's still some opportunities. You'll see some small houses around there, and you'll get lucky, like Bill was saying. But honestly, it's a little. It went up a lot. And Rittenhouse Square, there's houses for $1 million, like down by Spruce Street, like not far from Morgan Pier and all that. I was driving with a buddy one time. He's an app tells you how much a house are. One was 1.5 million. One was $1 million. One was like 800,000. 900K. So some of them are pretty much up there, bro. Like, so, but the market is still good though. I mean, just even up and coming areas that haven't, like Bill said, came and went already. There's now still, good opportunities. I think guys will both agree. All of us will agree that between like 2017 and now, it's been a great time for real estate and for getting like the houses. Minus COVID, of course, that little period would suck, but.
Vacation homes at the shore too are always increasing in value. My aunt and uncle about 22 years ago, they got a property in Avalon, and my aunt was telling me they got it for $140,000 roughly, and they just had it appraised last year. It's like $1.1 million now, like crazy. Like now it's $1 million in Avalon, New Jersey, like a block or two from the beach. It's crazy, man. Like, and when they first bought that property, they used it as a rental property half the summer, and then they would use it for like their own leisure, like the other half. But now they got the grandkids. They were doing that for years, and they just do it to anymore. So they just use it for themselves. But I was like, damn, man, it's crazy. And she only is on one floor, so like it is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it has like a nice it's got a nice deck and everything, and it has like a nice like full-size dining room, like living room, everything like that. But that's one floor. Like there's an upstairs, and that's not her unit. I was like, that's like another 1.1 million. Like that's a $2 million like whole entire building is worth like $2 million. That's crazy.
Wow.
Like, it's just, and things are just going up. And then they got properties on the beach, and my cousin said he was looking. He's like, they're like over $10 million. Like, I'm like, crazy. And that's just the Jersey Shore. That's just at the Jersey. That's not Miami or Florida or anything like that. It's crazy, man. So shore houses are the same way too, and you can make so much money in the summer if you can afford
Airbnb.
You know it's going to sell out from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and then probably after. It's crazy.
But that's when you need flood insurance.
Oh yeah. If you're going anywhere Jersey Shore, of course, Long Beach, flood insurance. For sure. Man, it's
if you guys don't mind, there was a thing I wanted to address. Somebody had said, it said that their first property wanted to be they want their first property to be a multi-family unit.
Oh yeah.
I saw it popping up there. So yeah, there we go. My first home, I want to purchase a multi-family. So I mean, now, Rob, this is probably a question. This is a question for you from me as well, because I'm not entirely sure if they still do this. Is Philadelphia still offering the $10,000 first home buyer grant?
Yeah.
So to this Facebook user here, because that's what it comes up on my screen. I don't know if anyone else can see the name. To this Facebook user here.
I was gonna say, that's Candace as well. Candace.
Oh, there you go. So Candace, Philadelphia is offering a $10,000 grant for a first time home. You can use that in multifamily as long as you're living in the property, and that grant is you don't have to pay it back unless you sell the home. I think within 5 years, something along the lines of that. But if you can use that towards your down payment on top of what you already have now. And you can also use what's called, now, I don't have any experience with this personally. I know I have known people who have operated with this, FHA 203K loans. So there's two FHA loans, FHA 203B, which is the traditional first time home buyer, 3.5% down. And then there's the FHA 203K. The FHA 203K is a rehab loan. So it's a first-time home buyer loan that you can use part of the mortgage to finance the purchase. The rehab of the property, but you need to use a HUD-approved contractor. You can't have Uncle Steve do your work and just pay him out of it. You need to use a contractor that HUD approves. So Candace purchasing a multifamily like that with Philadelphia's first time home buyer grant, with a little bit of your own personal funds, and maybe using an FHA 203K loan to add some equity to that. You could as long as you purchase correctly, you could have a nice little situation there, a nice little house hack. And now, Rob, do you have anything on that? Because I mean, I know that a little bit, but it's not really my forte.
Yeah, you hit it right on the spot. Definitely use that Philadelphia program. You do have to take a class though. I'm not sure how long the class is, but you have to take a class with a counselor, and then after you get that and get the certification, they grant you $10,000 towards your closing costs. So if you combine that with the FHA, you only put 3.5% down, and you get an extra $10,000 towards your closing costs. You could probably get a house and only bring in about $1,000 or $2,000, depending on the sales price. So yeah, it's a great deal. People should definitely take advantage of it. I tell all my clients to use that thing. It does take some time to finish, but definitely take advantage of that. And like Bill was saying, house hack. You live upstairs and have somebody rent out downstairs. Downstairs paying your mortgage, and you're basically living for free. So there you go.
You guys are dropping gems here. So guys, that's some great knowledge right there. Utilize that $10,000. That class takes a couple months or a month or something like. It's worth it. It's priceless. You're gonna get an extra $10,000. Like Rob said, you can walk into that with like 1,000 or just put 1,000, 2,000 down. Like when that goes towards your closing costs on top of it, it's like like with an FHA loan too with 3.5% down. Sheesh. Like take advantage. Take advantage. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Take advantage before the funds runs out, because
exactly
it happened before. So I don't know if it ran out yet, so don't quote me on that, but check it out.
And then the duplex thing is one of the oldest things I always heard. Like I said, somebody sent me like this long text before. It was like, I guess it was like a recirculated like text, like somebody always says how to win at life. And then one of them, it said, one of the portions in it says, buy real estate, live in one end and rent out the other. It's like, and you can literally have your bills paid on the one end, and then you can literally generate profit as well. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. What were you gonna say, Bill?
I know. I just want to touch on a quick point. Something that a lot of people overlook is the expenses that come with tenancy, having a tenant. A lot of people will go, and this is, I feel like what causes a lot of beginners' downfalls almost immediately. Mm-hmm. They purchase this property. They're like, oh, this is great. I throw a tenant in there. For one reason or another, 6 months into tenancy, they collect, let's just say $6,000 of rent. Boom, something, everyone says, oh, the toilet floods. I get a 3 o'clock in the morning toilet flood. I feel like that's probably like the least that's going to happen, because everyone knows how to use a plunger, so they're not going to call you with that. But let's just say worst case scenario, your HVAC system goes. That's a $5,000 repair, and then all of your profit is essentially wiped from that repair. Mm-hmm. So when you purchase a property, you want to make sure you have a little bit set aside, maybe from the refinance, to especially even if you're house hacking, so buying a property, adding a little bit of value to it. If you buy it for $100,000, again, I'm just using round numbers because math is not my strong suit. Don't quote me on these numbers at all that you're going to find $100,000 duplex in Philadelphia in a good neighborhood.
Oh,
no. But let's just say, you buy a property for $100,000, you put $20,000 worth of work into it. Now it's worth $150,000. You have $30,000 worth of equity. You refinance, you pull a little bit of that money out. You keep $10,000 in an account to, for any expenses that may pop up. You keep that $10,000, and now you have, $20,000 that you can use as a down payment on other property, or, honestly, down payment on other property. It's called the BRRRR method. But you use, down payment on other property, or, for whatever you want to use $20,000 for. I would use it to buy another house. But, so always keep account that the expenses that can pop up. Tenancy, having a tenant, having cash flow, it only really takes one miscalculation for you to wipe out your entire profit. So always make sure that you're, everyone likes to talk about, the cash flow is great, but are you saving it? Do you have that reserve?
True.
Did you buy correctly so that you have equity that you can use to pull out and, correct a big problem if one does arise? So always keep that in mind. Never just rely on what you're bringing in for rent. Otherwise, you're going to wipe yourself out.
Yeah, Bill's exactly right. Definitely, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. You just sit back and collect money. Especially if you have an older property, while your tenant's living there, something may break. So something may happen, toilet, plumbing. If you have a newer property, something still may happen. Like we had a completely renovated property, and we still had some issues with plumbing a couple months when the tenant was renting it. So yeah, definitely, like Bill was saying, we call it a capital expenditure. Basically, like we take money out of the rent every month to save and reserve just in case something breaks. So if nothing breaks for a year, that's great. Now you built up a good reserve just in case something breaks next year. So yeah, depending on the condition of the property, is the higher your capital expenditure. If it's older property, I would save a lot more money out of your profit, obviously after you pay the mortgage. But if it's a newer property, you can be a little bit more lenient and save a little less. But yeah, definitely have some reserve in case something pops up, because a big repair can eat your cash flow. And then you're going to have to start coming out your personal pockets and your personal money just because you can't leave the tenant in a home with no AC. So.
And that's where I swoop in, because that's where I get my deals from. I find landlords who didn't account for that, or they have they didn't account for that, and they're underwater, and then they need to sell at a discount. That's where guys like me come in. It sounds a little shady, but hey, like I'm here to fix your problem. I'll take that off your hands for $30,000 less than you paid for it. 30, 40 grand less than you paid for it, depending on your situation. So honestly, my goal is to have you not run into guys like me. That's as an investor, you don't want to run into guys like me. Yeah, let's be honest. You don't want to have to turn around and sell to a wholesaler. I mean, and sometimes I help a lot of landlords just because they don't feel like dealing with, they want quick cash real fast. They bought it in the 70s for, $5,000 and a goat. They're totally fine with a quick cash offer. So, but yeah, you don't want to, a lot of landlords in distress will have to turn to a wholesaler. So, keep that in mind. So, and also, if you got stress, shoot me a text.
There you go. There you go. Super valuable points, gentlemen. Essentially, even you're renting a property, like you both said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Still live with below your means, especially when you're first starting out. That's your first property. People tend to be like, okay, now I can sit back and relax. That's not always the scenario. You should always. It's like Rob even said right there. Like even with a fully renovated, brand new renovated property, things can still dry. Things can still happen. So definitely think of it if you get a new job, right? You get a new job with a big pay raise. People tend to start spending more money, right? That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You're making more money, you start spending more money. Try to live the same way. It's like when it comes to renting a property, you get your first, real estate property. You're starting to make money that you didn't have. Still tend to live below your means because you never know, and that's actually a great point, Rob. That put a little bit aside out of the rent each month for just in case something happens. It was a great point, gentlemen. Great point. So, Rob,
actually,
you have
what's up, guys? I'm sorry to cut you off, bro. I gotta get going. Unfortunately, it's a lit episode. I wish it could stay longer. You guys have a great one. I appreciate you both for coming, and I will reach out to you guys both personally. We'll be talking. I got work, unfortunately, so it's just on time. I wish it could stay a little longer,
No
but
problem.
it is. So, yeah, I know it is, man. But like I said, it was a great conversation. I feel like I learned a lot as well. So we'll definitely, have to do like a part 2, perhaps. I think today is already a pretty lit episode. So we had a lot of views, and people are asking about this one too, and they've been kind of like Steve said earlier in the show, like people have been asking about this, and we talked about it in the promo. So appreciate it and all that. But anyway, gentlemen, have a great one. Appreciate you both. Have a great weekend. And to the viewers, you guys have a great one.
Take care, man.
All right, take care. All right, Steve.
You as well, George. Take care, man.
Rob. All right, guys.
All right, George.
Yeah, we can. Okay, we're just about to bounce. As I say, we could wrap up like 10, 15 minutes or so. We actually been going for a good bit. I was going to say, Rob, you have an LLC, right? You have an LLC,
yeah.
And Bill, do you have yourself an LLC as well? Like under?
No, so I don't have my own LLC. Everything we do, I do through my partner's LLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I operate under his LLC.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's say like Rob, like what kind of goes into like a little bit of liability cover? I mean, you don't have to break down everything. I know one of my mentors in real estate, he said he was trying to explain to me like the difference between like an S corporation and an LLC. I know a limited liability company, essentially what it is like it's like obviously in the title, limited liability, but I think one of the biggest things is you can correct me if I'm wrong, it just separates the business owner from his personal assets when it comes to the event of like a bankruptcy liability. So like essentially, if for whatever reason you have to declare bankruptcy, they're not going to take your car, not going to take your home. It's just it's essentially just related to the business.
Yeah. So I'm not an expert on LLC, but I do know a good amount about it. So yeah, like you said, exactly right. It separates your personal assets from the business. So the business itself has its own assets, and then you have your own personal assets, and you're just a member of the LLC. So that's kind of how my LLC is formed. I'm a member of the LLC. So when we take a property in the title of the LLC owns the property, not me. I'm a member of the LLC, so I have rights to it. I have access to it. And obviously any money coming in, it goes through the business and then comes to me. Obviously, I don't take the money. I keep it in the business, but it goes through that. That's the pipeline. But the business owns the property, not me. So that's where LLC it comes in. So it protects you. Like, let's say I have a tenant in that property and they slip and fall and they sue. They can't sue me. They're going to sue the business. So that's where the LLC comes in. It comes in with that protection from your personal liability.
Exactly. So there's like, it's obviously it's got the benefits, but then the drawback is it's at the end of the day it's owned by the business. I don't know like a ton of them. I do know like with S corporations, it like depends on how much money you make per year. Obviously, how big how big your business is, because there's a corporation, right? It has to be a certain amount of people. Like limited liability companies are usually great. LLCs are great for small businesses, depending on the amount of people in the business. And I know for tax advantages, it's different with like S corporations and LLCs. I know one of my guys, he's actually a tax professional. He was going to come on at some point, like talk about the differences. But that's a great breakdown, because I know a lot of people. That's another thing, like LLCs, because it's only like what's an LLC, like $125, $115 to like get started with LLC, because so anybody can really like get started with an LLC. But it's good to honestly obviously know what an LLC is. It's important.
Yeah, my accountant just set it up. I asked him to set it up for me. He set it up, filed it with the state of Pennsylvania, and then they give you an EIN number, which is employer identification number, and then you use that number to set up a business bank account. And I recommend to everybody here, the audience, separate your personal finances from your business finances. So any rent that you're receiving, make sure that's going into a business account. So when you're doing taxes, everything is laid out for your business and not your personal money, not your Cheetos that you bought is in there. So it's all separated. So definitely recommend that.
That's a great and underrated point, actually. Yeah, because then it gets messy when it becomes tax time, right? When you're claiming certain money, now you got to try to separate the money that's in your personal account for what that was related to the business. It's not. It's just so much easier when you actually just put it right into another account. A lot better. Underrated point. The Cheetos.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too, Rob. You might know the answer to this. If your money is muddled and you have a hard time discerning between the LLC and your personal funds, if someone were to sue you, they could end up suing you directly because everything is so intertwined. Is that I've read that, I've heard that. I'm not entirely sure the accuracy of that. What are your?
I'm not entirely sure. I know the LLC still protects you, even though you have the money intertwined. But when you have an LLC, you can get a business bank account. So usually people don't mix it when they have an LLC. But I'm not 100% sure if you have the same bank account, if they still can sue you. I'm not 100% sure on that.
It's actually a good
question.
That's
a good point. Yeah.
By the way, we're not finance professionals.
Yeah, I'm not a tax expert.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I work in finance, I'm not a CPA.
Oh yeah, never mind.
I'm not a CFA. I work in finance for a living, but I'm not like a CFA or a CPA or anything like that. So, in no way licensed. So,
talk to a tax professional accountant. They'll know way better than us.
Always. It's always like anything legal. I know you guys know from the real estate side. I'm sure Rob is a real estate agent. Like anytime somebody asks you legal questions in real estate, you go, I'm not authorized to answer that question. You have to speak with a professional. You have to speak with a lawyer. I can't give you any type of legal advice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always going to recommend you to a lawyer or accountant if it has to do with something with title and law, lawyer, taxes, accountant. So.
Exactly. You have to protect yourself. It's like if I give you some type of advice and it's not right, you're gonna try to come back and then sue me. It's like, it's you gotta be careful.
And real estate is so dynamic. What works for me may not work for you. So if I tell you this advice, it worked for me in terms of my taxes and my title or my real estate law, it may not work for you, and then it might backfire on me. So I always say talk to a professional that knows it.
Exactly. You never know who you're dealing with either. It could be a nice person at the table, and it's like, oh well, Rob told me this, and it's like, and then they try to go back. So it's like, I don't have like honestly any more questions tonight, but I don't know if you guys have anything to add. Before we wrap up like the next 5 minutes. You guys have been great, to be honest. You've answered a lot of great points, and you guys have brought some other even you guys have brought things to the table I didn't even ask. So. I appreciate you both, but you guys have anything to add before I wrap up like the next 5 minutes? Anything you guys want to add? I guess.
Yeah. I got one thing for the audience. Something I'm seeing a lot. I was actually talking to Steve about it. So make sure you guys work and maintain your credit. Credit is so important in real estate. If you want to invest, if you want to buy your first house, get a car, whatever. Credit is so important. Obviously, I'm an agent, so I meet a lot of people, or people call me, And then I talk to them, their credit is jacked. I would say like 75% of people I talk to, their credit is jacked. So that's a big thing I noticed in Philadelphia. Everybody's credit is messed up. So make sure you stay on task with your credit. Pay down your credit cards. Don't have any derogatory marks. Keep your credit intact. Trust me. When you need leverage in real estate, unless you a millionaire, you have a lot of cash, you need leverage. So credit's gonna help you with that leverage. It's gonna help you tremendously.
Super important, guys.
If
The
only,
biggest thing
if only
when
we
it
knew a
comes down
credit
to,
professional somewhere,
yeah,
somewhere
if
nearby.
only, yeah, if only you knew a guy who worked for credit professionals. No, I'm playing. Guys, I work with a company called I've said it here before. I work with a company called UWE. It stands for United Wealth Education. I am actually not like a licensed credit repair specialist, but we have products and services, and we have credit repair specialists to work with our team. I basically sit down and I consult with these people, and I try to figure out like what their needs are, and I transfer them to people or get them to sign up for like certain products that honestly help our consumers. But yeah, no, it's the biggest people that honestly build. If I would have to say, like, honestly, the guy I work with too, his name's Bryce. He's been on here too. He could tell you, like, the biggest business that comes in is people who are real estate agents directing people and who are trying to buy homes for the first time. Credit is it's paramount. You need to have your credit on point. And it's not as hard as I get it. Some people, maybe they took risks early on, they had bankruptcies, things like that. But a lot of the credit issues, it's kind of people get into like consumer debt and things like that. And it's just, it's honestly, the biggest thing is paying your payments on time. Even if it's making a minimum payment, you're going to carry a balance. But the biggest thing that makes up your credit score, guys, is your payment history. There's a lot of other things too, like your length of credit and everything else. Biggest thing is make sure you pay your bills. Like even if it's the minimum payment, make sure you get it in. Don't let that go. It's $25. Just make the minimum payment. It's important because it's big. I feel like people just, like we say, it's like people like to live above their means a lot of times, and that's what gets a lot of people into credit card debt. But it's paramount. Credit opens so many doors for so many people. Like people don't even realize, like having a good credit score could literally just open you to so many deals, so many doors.
It can change your life, man.
It really can. It really can. Bill, do you have anything to add at all before we wrap up?
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 points. Number one, the piggyback off the credit situation. Just because right now you're buying your first home, your live-in home, you need to have solid credit. You do. There's no way around that. In real estate investment, fortunately, there are ways. Even if you have poor credit, there are ways to go around. You just need to be creative. My credit's okay, which is, thankfully I'm okay with my credit. But I do know people who've had shoddy credit, and fortunately they knew, they made a lot of really good connections. People who let them use their own private money and essentially acted as a bank. Where there's other ways to creatively finance a deal, like through owner financing, or like the owner may act as a bank. You put a down payment, but at the end of please, keep your credit intact, but don't lose hope just because your credit's in a bad spot. You're in a rough spot. You can build that back up. You can still invest in real estate. You just have to get creative. Please keep your credit intact. Just because I said that, don't go say, "Oh, screw my credit card payment."
Because Bill said so.
Yeah, seriously. And then, but secondly, if you're investing in real estate, something to pay attention, and a lot of people neglect it because it's boring. It is zoning. Zoning is incredibly important. Especially to Candace, who said she wants her first property to be a multifamily. Candace, if you buy that house and it's not a legal duplex, that could cost you some money. So always look up and make sure it's proper zoning. The two main zonings, and the two most common zonings I'll see in Philadelphia. Well, I would say the three most common zonings you'll see in Philadelphia are RSA 5. Those are single family residences. RM1, it can be a single family residence or a multi-family residence. And then CMX2 is a commercial foundation with residential up top. Those are the three that I run into the most. I'm not a zoning lawyer. I'm not a zoning expert. So don't, take this and run with it. But those are three. Those are the three most common zonings that I run into and what I work with. So just always pay attention with the zoning. I've run into situations where people don't have they built a duplex. I'm sorry, they converted a single family home into a duplex, and they did it without getting a variance through the city, and that that would leave the buyer responsible for getting all the variances. For one reason or another, if the city were to deny that, you're holding this property that you can't do anything with. You're not going to be able to get a business license. The city's going to be down your neck all the time with it. So really pay attention to the zoning. You can Google Philadelphia zoning if you have, just to kind of take a look. So always keep an eye on the zoning. Location and zoning are two big factors of a real estate price. And, location's number one, zoning is that close second. So keep an eye on that zoning.
Super underrated point.
Bill, funny you say that. There's one project we're working on. We're working with changing the zoning. So I'm going through hell right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely buy a property that's zoned properly.
I can only imagine the headaches that go along with it.
Yeah, I mean you can get variances, but sometimes it just can be difficult. Don't rely on don't say, oh my God, this location's great, I'm gonna buy it and get a variance. Just buy it for what it is. If the location's great, try and especially if you're first starting off, buy it for what it is. If you're like Rob, who has a little bit more experience, who can deal with the zoning issues, that's a different ball game.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly. You gentlemen both brought like points tonight. I would say like the gist of things that I've kind of learned from you guys, but I'm sure that everybody else as well. Real estate, it can be a great way to, generate long-term wealth. But the thing is, do your research, run your numbers correctly, make sure to be thorough, like with inspections, whatever you're doing when you're acquiring your first property, make sure you really run the numbers, you do the projections, be thorough. And then account for certain things like zoning. It's like when it comes to putting aside money every single month because you just out of your rent because you never know when something's going to happen. Just do your due diligence, because I think a lot of people they think once they get that first property, they just think like, oh, it's going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's not always like that, but that's kind of what I took away tonight. It's like you can make a good amount of money as you build your properties and you build your portfolio, but just make sure to do your due diligence behind the scenes.
That's
for sure. Man, I appreciate you guys both coming on. I honestly don't have a ton for the wrap. I really just want to thank you, Bill, for coming back. I want to thank you, Rob, for coming on for the first time. I think this was really valuable. I'm sure a lot of people are really going to learn from this. This was just a general kind of intro, but I really, really appreciate the both of you taking your time out tonight to be on here.
Yeah, no problem at all. It was a pleasure.
I love doing this, so this is cool.
I know, Bill. I think this is like your second official. I know you were on the one time, but it kind of the connection got a little weird. So it was like 2.5 times, like 3 times. This is like I think your third official, but yeah, man. And Rob's here. I'm sure we'll have Rob on again for whether it's like this topic or something else. I know Rob's a pretty interesting dude. He knows a lot of different things. So. Man, but yeah, great points tonight, guys. We went down. So everybody, we went through like wholesale. We went through rental properties, house flips, all different stuff. We got into a bunch of different conversations. We talked FHA loans, briefly conventional loans, a little bit about LLCs, S corps. Went through a lot of different stuff tonight, and it's been almost an hour and a half. So it was, I think at one point, we had like 11 or 12 people in here at once. So a lot of people were tuning in. Had a lot of good comments tonight. As I said, just want to thank you guys for coming on. I don't have anything else for tonight. You guys have anything else? I know you guys just said your points. Anything else before I end tonight? You guys good?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me. I'll see you on the boat, Steve.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Oh yeah, guys. You guys want to drop your social medias before we wrap up here? If you guys want to drop your Instagram tag or your Facebook, I know you have before, Bill, but if you want to drop yours again, and Rob, if you want to drop yours, so you guys, if anybody wants to follow you guys or maybe link to do business with you guys, what's your guys' Instagram handles?
For sure, I'll put it in the chat or just say it.
Well, you can say it or put it in the chat, whatever you got, whatever you guys are most comfortable with, or whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Yeah, so follow me on Instagram at ROB_LAV215. Hit me up if you need any agent services. I helped a lot of my friends acquire their first investment property. If you want any tips or anything like that. So yeah, I'm constantly in the game, constantly trying to grow our portfolio. So yeah, send me a DM, hit me up if you need any agent services or anything like that. So pleasure to be here and speak with you guys.
Yeah, Rob, I actually just hit you with a follow. You gotta follow me back. Mine is my Instagram tag is Plymouth Rock _22. I don't do too much on Instagram, but it's a good way to get in contact with me if you don't have my phone number. And I'm running a deal right now. If you bring me a property, that someone wants to sell, they want cash, and I get to the closing table, we close, everything goes great, I'll give you $1,000. So something, so something I'm working with right now. If so if it's $1,000 cash, it is what it is. That's what I do if I buy this product. If as long as I get to the closing table and I purchase, you get $1,000. So
awesome. Yo, Bill, do you want to drop your TikTok on here? I know it's not really real estate; it's more of a mental health for anybody on here. Man, Bill's kind of he's kind of slowly rising on TikTok, man.
Yeah, so my TikTok is Billy_idol_. And honestly, my TikTok, I just do goofy stuff on my TikTok. Some of it's mental health, some of it's just me doing. I told a weird story that happened the other day where my Amazon got hacked. Weirdly enough, where I was reading a story about the youth in India. They started this is such a weird tale. So they started getting high off of the chemicals and flavored condoms, and like condom theft is like huge over there. And as I'm reading this article, I get a text from Amazon customer service that says my Amazon was just there was a sign-in attempt on my Amazon account from India. And that's where the IP address was. And I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, they just tried to hack my Amazon to buy flavored condoms because they're running out over there. So so it's that's my TikTok's a lot of goofy stuff. That just happened to be a weird thing that happened to me last week. But it is what it is over there. Yeah, if you want to follow me on TikTok, some cheap laughs, that's what that is.
There you go. Without further ado, guys, like I said, I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll definitely have you guys back on for more episodes going forward. Guys, remember, we'll see you next week for episode 97, me and George, and we're 4 away from 100. So, guys, for the 100th episode, we might have try to bring in like as many, if you guys are available at that time or whatever. We're gonna try to probably bring in as many of the guests that we've had on prior, maybe to all come in and join. It'll just be like a party episode or something like that.
Yeah,
celebration to get to that 100. More than focused content, but yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on, and have a great night, guys, and great weekend, and take care. Appreciate you.
Yeah, guys.
Take care, fellas. Take care, Bill. Nice meeting you, man.
All right, good night, gentlemen.
Bye, everyone.